It's just 50 years after the death of Solomon. The nation of Israel split on Solomon's death to become Israel, 10 tribes in the north, and Judah, 1 tribe in the south. But the temple, Jerusalem, were in the territory of Judah. And so Jeroboam, the king of Israel, had strongly urged his people not to come down to worship God in Jerusalem, building up calves from Egypt for them to worship instead, and appointing a whole new religious system for them to follow. And so the Lord declared that his dynasty would end. When his son took over the throne, his son was assassinated and Baasha took over the kingdom. But Baasha followed the same practice. He stopped his people from going down to Jerusalem to worship, seeking to build a wall on the border to stop them. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, the son of Hanani, against Baasha, saying, Inasmuch as I lifted you out of the dust and made you ruler over my people Israel, and you have walked in the way of Jeroboam, and have made my people Israel sin, to provoke me to anger with their sins, surely I will take away the posterity of Baasha and the posterity of his house, and I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat. The dogs shall eat whatever belongs to Baasha and dies in the city, and the birds of the air shall eat whoever dies in the fields. Now the rest of the acts of Baasha, what he did, and his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Baasha rested with his fathers, and was buried in Tirzah. Then Elah his son reigned in his place. And also the word of the Lord came by the prophet Jehu the son of Hanani against Baasha and his house, because of all the evil that he did in the sight of the Lord, in provoking him to anger with the work of his hands, in being like the house of Jeroboam, and because he killed them. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah the son of Baasha became king over Israel, and he reigned 2 years in Tirzah. Now his servant Zimri, the commander of half his chariots, conspired against him as he was in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk, in the house of Azra, steward of his house in Tirzah. And Zimri went in and struck him, and killed him in the 27th year of Asa king of Judah, and reigned in his place. Then it came to pass, when he began to reign, as soon as he was seated on his throne, that he killed all the household of Baasha, and did not leave him one male, neither of his relatives nor of his friends. Thus Zimri destroyed all the household of Baasha, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke against Baasha by Jehu the prophet. For all the sins of Baasha, and the sins of Elah his son, by which they had sinned, and by which they had made Israel sin, in provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their idols. Now the rest of the acts of Elah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? In the 27th year of Asa king of Judah, Zimri had reigned in Tirzah 7 days, and the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. Now the people who were encamped heard it said, Zimri has conspired and also has killed the king. So all Israel made Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel that day in the camp. Then Omri and all Israel with him went up from Gibbethon, and they besieged Tirzah. And it happened, when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the citadel of the king's house, and burned the king's house down upon himself with fire, and died, because of the sins which he had committed in doing evil in the sight of the Lord, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he had committed to make Israel sin. Now the rest of the acts of Zimri, and the treason he committed, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Then the people of Israel were divided into 2 parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people who followed Omri prevailed over the people who followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died, and Omri reigned. In the 31st year of Asa king of Judah, Omri became king over Israel, and reigned 12 years. 6 years he reigned in Tirzah, and he bought the hill of Samaria from Shema for 2 talents of silver. Then he built on the hill, and called the name of the city which he built Samaria, after the name of Shema, the owner of the hill. Omri did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and did worse than all who were before him. For he walked in all the ways of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and in his sin by which he made Israel sin, provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their gods. Now the rest of the acts of Omri which he did, and the might that he showed, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Omri rested with his fathers, and was buried in Samaria. Then Ahab his son reigned in his place. In the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, Ahab the son of Omri became king over Israel. And Ahab the son of Omri reigned over Israel in Samaria 22 years. Now Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of the Lord, more than all who were before him. And it came to pass, as though it had been a trivial thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, that he took as wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians. And he went and served Baal, and worshipped him. Then he set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. And Ahab made a wooden image. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord God of Israel to anger than all the kings of Israel who were before him. In his days Hiel of Bethel built Jericho. He laid its foundation with Abiram his firstborn, and with his youngest son Segub he set up its gates, according to the word of the Lord, which he had spoken through Joshua the son of Nun. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we share together from 1 Kings chapter 16. Coming to another stage of the nation of Israel, leading us to the reign of Ahab. And we're going to have a lot of information given to us about the reign of Ahab, as the Lord challenges the people and seeks to bring them back to himself. But what's happened? All of these kings of Israel have followed the same policy, to stop the people worshipping the true God. And God has not intervened to protect them from the evil that has been generated by their policies. For when you have an evil person reigning, then other evil people will rise up against them. And that's what has happened. That Baasha rose up against the house of Jeroboam. And now Zimri has risen up against Baasha. But there was no popular support for Zimri. He was a murderer of the king. And so the people debated, would they put Omri in charge, who was captain of the army, or would they appoint Tibni, the son of Gineth? The nation was divided, but eventually Omri overcame Tibni, who died. And so Omri represents the third dynasty in 60 years in the nation of Israel. He seeks to refocus the nation on a city that he will build, Samaria, a new city on a new hill. But he is not walking in the ways of the Lord. He is not seeking the Lord. He is provoking the Lord by building idols, building other things for the people to worship. Well, he dies after 12 years, and his son, who has been well trained by his father, takes over the throne and takes the nation even further away from the Lord, choosing to marry not an Israelite, but a princess from Sidon, who will bring with her the worship of Baal and the temple of Baal. And so Samaria will be set up as a city focused on Baal, whereas Jerusalem had a temple to the living God. Samaria had a temple of Baal. They would take deliberate action to exterminate the name of the Lord from the nation. Notice that this is just 60 years after the death of Solomon, such a short period for such a dramatic change in the nation. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord God of Israel to anger than all the kings of Israel who were before him. And in his days, Jericho was rebuilt, having lain desolate for over 500 years, with the sacrifice of children as the foundation was laid and as the gates were set up, showing just how far the nation had turned away from the living God.